there, welcome to my cozy corner of the internet. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about and I guess kind of quickly reviewing every single game I played in the past year. I played lots of different games, almost all of them are indie and cozy games with a few exceptions. And I think there are at least 75 plus games in this video. I mean, I'm not sure, I didn't count, but I think around that. I'm gonna go month by month and I'll add timestamps down below as well. Okay, now let's start with January. So in January, I only played a total of 3 games and one of them I didn't even complete. So let's get into it. I started my month with Citizen Sleeper 2. It was one of my most anticipated games of the year, and after playing it, I can say it was well deserved. I loved the first game and they really kept all the best parts of the first game and built on them. I made a more detailed video on it, so if you'd like to hear more, I'll leave that video in the description. Okay, so I want to talk about the next games a bit more in depth since I didn't play anything else. Majority of my month was spent in Final Fantasy XIV, completing the Shadowbringers expansion. Now, I was stupid and I forgot to record any footage, so I will use old gameplay footage that doesn't have anything to do with Shadowbringers. Sorry. Before talking about the expansion itself, I have to say, anytime I log into this game, I'm instantly met with pure happiness and peace. Going to Limsa, seeing all my friends there or people that I don't personally know but constantly see through the years, it just gives me such a warm familiarity, like I'm living in a tiny seaside town, hanging out with all my friends. Now, for Shadowbringers. It was definitely the best expansion so far. I actually didn't understand what the hype was about until around halfway. I mean, I thought it was good, like really good, just like Heavensward, but not better. But then something happened and perfect quests kept coming back to back with multiple voice-overed long cutscenes, and I just leaned back and enjoyed. There was a duty called Faded Memories and I had goosebumps all throughout. Post Shadowbringers was everything I could want it to be, and that ending was chef's kiss. I feel lucky and also kind of sad that I didn't complete this expansion as it came out along with everybody else, because I think then it would hit even harder. Also, having to wait years for Endwalker would make it more meaningful, I think. And now I'm planning to take a break from the game because when I play, I spend literally all my free time on it, which I know is not very healthy. And when my Final Fantasy craze was over, which takes us to 27th of January, I started playing Diablo 4. I've never played a Diablo game before, unless we count that time in 2013 when I saw people talking so highly about it, so I got it for my PlayStation 4, but after 30 minutes of playing, I got stuck, I didn't understand what to do, and I stopped. I was 12, mind you, so really I had no idea what I was going to find. I certainly didn't expect the cinematic cutscenes and the story quality. I don't know why, but I was just expecting a game where I kill enemies and loot, and that's it. But there was more. I could even mine, gather herbs, ride a horse like I was a main character in a movie. This was one of my favorite things, by the way. So cool. I also thought it would be a linear game, but it has an open world where I can explore. I just realized how many misconceptions I had about this game. Another misconception I had was I thought the game would be difficult, and when it told me to choose the normal difficulty, if I've never played a Diablo game before, I did, thinking the game has special combos or a different playstyle, but I guess what they've meant to say was if you've never played a game before, because the normal mode was just basically a clicker game. All I had to do was click. I could even close my eyes and click, 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 and still enemies would die. I mean, I like easy, no brain required combat, but if I want that, I can just go play one of my cozy, cutie games and not Diablo. And I thought, well, maybe it's just because it's the tutorial. So I kept playing and it just got easier. At one point, the game said the whole village was coming, so I fixed my posture and got ready, and there was only like 3 enemies. Now at this part I was a bit surprised by the amount of enemies, but again all it took was a few more clicks. And here in this event the game said if I kill this boss within the time limit I would complete the mastery challenge, and the boss just melted in 2 seconds. Now I'm pretty sure the game will get very hard after progressing a bit since there are so many difficulty levels, but I think it wasn't balanced enough in the early game. I'm also still very early in the game and I don't know if I'll continue playing, even though I'm enjoying my time with it. I just want to clear a few big games from my backlog this year, and so maybe starting another grindy game isn't the best idea. And yeah, that's everything I played in January. At the start of February, we had a huge game release, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and it pretty much took over my entire month. Not that I had that much free time to begin with, but whenever I did, I was playing this game. I played the first Kingdom Come when it originally came out, but I stopped after around 30 hours. I always had great memories of it whenever I looked back, but at the time, some mechanics just didn't click with me. Certain aspects felt a bit too confusing, so I moved on. But when they announced a second game, I was beyond excited. I knew they would improve upon everything I disliked in the first game, and I was right. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 improves on every single aspect I found frustrating in the first game. It's more immersive, more polished, and just more fun. I've already played it for more hours than I ever did with the first game. Some days when I have things to do, I literally dream of playing Kingdom Come once I finish my to-do list as a way of motivating myself. I absolutely love riding through the world. The landscapes feel so real, like I'm actually traveling through a medieval countryside. And I mean, they are basically real. I saw someone saying that they live in that region and they don't need to use the game's map since everything looks the same. The world is alive, but it's not overwhelming in a way some open world games can be. It's immersive without feeling like I have a million waypoints pressuring me to do things. And then there are the side quests, which has the perfect balance between seriousness and silliness. One moment I'll be caught up in some deeply emotional or intense situation, and the next I'll be helping some ridiculous guy with a stupid problem, which is exactly the kind of quest variety I love in RPGs. Another big highlight for me is blacksmithing and alchemy. They could be entire simulator games on their own with just a few additions. I could easily spend hours just forging weapons and experimenting with potions because the process is so detailed and satisfying. And something I didn't expect, the game is genuinely funny at times. It has this dry humor and I've caught myself laughing out loud at random dialogue multiple times. So yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 completely dominated my February. It's one of those games where I don't just enjoy playing it, I'm thinking about it anytime I'm not. I then played Afterlove EP, another one of my most anticipated games of 2025. I love visual novels and this was a good one. It's not exactly a visual novel since you can walk around the map and there's a mini rhythm game, but it feels right to call it one in short. One thing I really love in games is when they take me to places I don't often see in mainstream gaming, and Afterlove EP does exactly that. It's set in Indonesia and the map is designed so beautifully with little details that make it feel alive. The vibrant streets, cozy cafes, and everyday city life are depicted with so much charm. It feels personal, and that makes sense considering the story behind the game. Its original creator Mohammed Fahmy sadly passed away during development, and from what I've heard, one of his best friends helped complete the game and included locations Fahmy loved visiting in real life. Knowing this added such an emotional layer to the experience. The game itself is deeply emotional too. You play as Rama, a musician dealing with grief after the loss of his girlfriend Sinta, but her presence still lingers in his life, literally, as her voice continues to speak to him. Throughout the game, you have to decide how to move forward, whether to embrace change or stay stuck in the past. I loved how it handled themes of loss, healing, and self-discovery in such a thoughtful way. The rhythm game segments are a nice touch touch too, adding a bit of interactivity that fits well with the story's themes. It's exactly the kind of heartfelt game I was hoping it would be, and I'm so happy with it. And finally, for February, I played Change, a homeless survival experience. Living in Paris, sometimes I pass several homeless people in just a few minutes. Over time, I've noticed myself becoming somewhat numb to it, not because I don't care, but because it's overwhelming to constantly take in. But Change made that impossible. It forces you to confront the harsh realities of being homeless in a way that's deeply eye-opening. It's a roguelike survival game where you experience life as a homeless person, trying to find food, shelter, and a way to escape your situation. Each playthrough starts in a randomly generated city, and as you progress, you unlock perks and upgrade different skills. You can try to improve your begging skills to earn more money, focus on studying to eventually get a job, or invest in stealth to steal things. But the game makes one thing painfully clear. Pulling yourself out of this situation is incredibly difficult. Studying and finding a stable job is far from straightforward. Even securing a safe shelter to sleep feels nearly impossible some nights. One of the most frustrating yet realistic parts of the game is how the system works against you. Let's say you manage to apply for welfare. You have to be at your appointment at exactly 10 a.m., but your shelter is on the other side of the city and you can't afford transportation. So what do? You sleep outside the office just to make it in time. Every small success is met with another obstacle, and the game constantly reminds you that the easiest path isn't always the best one, but sometimes it feels like the only choice. It really drives home how people often end up in even worse situations simply because the alternative requires resources or stability that they don't have. Despite how heavy it is, Change keeps things engaging by allowing you to unlock new characters with different backstories and circumstances. This adds variety and makes each run feel like a new, unique struggle. It's an incredibly important game, one that doesn't just make you think about homelessness, it makes you feel it. And I'm really glad a game like this exists. I started March with Wonderstop. I made a separate review video for it, so I'll try to keep it short as to not repeat myself, but in short, I loved it. We play as Alta, a fighter who's too exhausted she can't even lift her sword anymore, so she's forced to slow down and run a tea shop. What makes it different from normal cozy games is that she is sarcastic and she hates running a tea shop and interacting with customers. It's definitely not everyone's cup of tea, no pun intended. Actually, that was completely intended. It was literally on the script, which I carefully wrote. Anyway, if you're looking to play a different cozy game where the protagonist feels like a real person, I would definitely recommend Wonderstop. After that, I played another new cozy game, Grimoire Grows. Grimoire Grows is a roguelike dungeon crawler with whimsical art and vibrant colors. The gameplay revolves around restoring the garden and forest, and each run takes you into the forest to water adorable plants and gather materials. These plants feel like newborn babies. They just stick to you and ask for attention. At times, you'll have 30 mushrooms clinging to you, which is both chaotic and endearing. You can unlock new skills as you progress and swap between them, which adds nice variety. Of course, it's not all good. I have to be honest, the first hour felt confusing and the story is quite weak, which in my opinion should be a priority in a cozy game. The dialogue feels limited and the gameplay can get repetitive since it's very grindy. While some grindy games let you zone out with a podcast in the background, Grimoire Grows isn't really one of them. It's fast-paced and there are always a million plans demanding your attention. That said, I don't think it's a hard game, just one that requires a lot of engagement. Personally, I like that it keeps my full focus since I usually zone out in games like this. This way it helps me escape and disconnect from real life stress, which is exactly what I want from a game like this. Plus, it's really addictive. I just wish there was better storytelling because with stronger writing, this could be an incredible game. After that, I made my way to Jusant, which I learned is a French nautical term meaning receding tide, so it contributed to my French learning with a word I'll definitely never use. I'm happy about it nonetheless. Jusant, or shall I just say Jusant or Jusant, I don't know. Jusang takes place in a world where the ocean has mysteriously vanished, leaving behind towering cliffs and an abandoned civilization. We play as a climber, scaling an enormous tower once home to a thriving community that was forced to leave as the water receded. Along the way, we uncover letters and environmental clues that reveal their struggles, their hopes, and the way they adapted before eventually disappearing. At first, I wasn't too sure if a story told only through notes would grow on me, but it did. I started caring about these characters I haven't even seen. And of course, we have to talk about the main mechanic of the game, climbing. If your favorite parts in games like Uncharted, Tomb Raider, or the new Star Wars games are the climbing sections, then Jusant is perfect for you. I know it might be hard for some people to believe that the climbing sections in those games could be someone's favorite part, but honestly, they are for me. Jusant felt like a mix of climbing in those games plus journey. There are many different climbing mechanics, so the game never feels repetitive. I also really liked how we're never in danger of falling to our death. It's always relatively safe. There were also some moments where the scenery gave me goosebumps. My only two complaints would be, one, this is not even a complaint actually, I loved the soundtrack, but I just feel like it didn't have that wow effect that would take the game to the next level. Some soundtracks really take a good game and turn it into a masterpiece, like Celeste's soundtrack, but I feel like this game didn't have that. And two, there are a lot of collectibles, which I'm okay with, but a lot of the time it wasn't really clear which was the main path versus the collectibles path, so I ended up going down the main path and was unable to return to the other area. There is a chapter selection once you finish the game if you're an achievement hunter, but I personally don't really enjoy going back and redoing the same areas, so I wish it was a bit clearer which way to go. After that, I started playing Miside with zero knowledge of what to expect. I definitely didn't expect it to be so scary and disturbing. I mean, I definitely get scared easily and my bar is very low, but I actually loved how they made the scary parts bearable. It was balanced so nicely. It was always one cute part where we get to know the characters, followed by a horror part. They followed the formula perfectly, which made the game really enjoyable for me. When I was too scared, I just took a deep breath and motivated myself with, "Hold on, there will be a cute moment very soon." They made such a clear separation of when the game was trying to scare you versus when it was chill that even the escape menu drastically changes. I would definitely be unable to play otherwise, but I think they took super scared people like me into account and I appreciate it. Also, Happy Mita and Sleepy Mita world domination. Then I played a very short personality test game called Refined Self. The game ends once you reach 100% test progressions and you progress 1% every time you interact with any object, even if it's picking a flower or opening a door. I actually found myself starting to click things randomly toward the end because I was starting to get a bit bored. I felt like there wasn't a lot to interact with, which kind of made the game pointless in my eyes because you can talk to most of the characters and interact with almost everything before you reach the 100% mark anyway. I also read some people saying you should complete the game 3 times to understand the story, but I personally wasn't interested in the story at all, so after one playthrough I was done with it. I think it's a good game idea, but it wasn't executed well. And finally, for March, I played, well, or rather I watched Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus, which is an interactive murder mystery movie. We play as Abby and we're in a chaotic family quiz night. We learn our Uncle Marcus has been poisoned. He secretly calls us, begging for help to figure out which family member did it before it's too late. So through video calls and passive-aggressive relatives, we gather clues, ask the right questions, and piece together the truth. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, so I didn't either. These games are always some nice, silly fun. I really enjoy them when I want to play something, but also just wanna lean back and shut my brain off. My only criticism would be that I wish there was more time to choose something because, like I said, I'm usually leaned back and chilling, and then the game suddenly brings up a choice screen that only lasts for like 2 or 3 seconds. I hardly even have the chance to read, but the game expects me to read, decide, and click the corresponding choice. It's a bit too much for my small brain and slow reflexes. And that's it for March. So for April, I was doing a challenge to complete 30 games in 30 days. I'll link that video in the description if you're interested. Sadly, it only got like 100 views. But basically, don't be confused by the amount of games in April. It was a rare event. The first game I played was Bad and Theater. I honestly think this game is pure genius. The developer has created something truly unique. It's a perfect blend of visual novel storytelling and clever puzzle mechanics, and the way those two genres are combined feels so fresh and satisfying. Figuring out all the endings was like solving a big emotional puzzle, and when I finally rolled the credits, I felt genuinely rewarded. Not just for the effort, but it also left me emotionally satisfied. Next is Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. I really enjoyed this one. It just looks like a simple game with cute talking veggies, but things get wild pretty quickly. You play as a tiny turnip who casually commits tax evasion and spends the rest of the game tearing up documents while helping other vegetables with very questionable tasks. The contrast between the cute art style and the chaotic plot is amazing. I laughed out loud a few times, which rarely happens with games that try to be funny. There are many fetch quests, but they literally take 2 minutes and never overstay their welcome. The writing is full of jokes, internet references, and weird characters that somehow all just work together. I didn't love the puzzles, and sometimes the movement felt a bit stiff, but honestly the charm of Turnip Boy and the dialogue made up for it. I ended up wanting to collect everything just for the satisfaction. Ripping up tax document feels way more fun than it should. The game just has this unhinged yet wholesome energy. They even added a free DLC called Limitless Line, which is a roguelike dungeon crawler on a train. It was a complete surprise, but such a fun addition. The end credits literally include a title called Meme Chef, and the song that was playing was so good. You can really feel how much effort and love went into the whole game, and I love that so much. Then there is Sheepy, a short adventure, which felt like the love child of Celeste and Hollow Knight, which are both obviously masterpieces. The soundtrack made my jaw drop, especially A Journey's Pace. It's free and lasts about an hour, but with the collectibles, I think it could give you a really fun 2 hours of game time. There was a sequence that honestly put the biggest smile on my face. It felt really euphoric. If you played the game, I think you definitely know which part I'm talking about. Definitely looking forward to more games from this developer. Then we have Norco, and I feel like I can make a whole video just talking about this game. Almost all the reviews I read of Norco talk about how if you love Disco Elysium, you'd probably love this too. And honestly, even just reading random quotes from Disco Elysium is enough to cheer me up and give me goosebumps. So I was excited to see if Norco would fill the aching gap Disco Elysium left in me. While I do see where the comparisons come from, I think the two games have completely different tones. Disco Elysium gives me hope. Even when everything is falling apart, it has this weird warmth to it. Norco felt darker and heavier. It's less about finding connection and more about grief, memory, and returning to something that no longer fits. That said, I loved it. The setting is incredibly rich, a southern sci-fi landscape full of industrial decay, religious imagery, and surreal moments that somehow all work together. It has this deep, swampy atmosphere that wraps around you. Visually and emotionally, it sticks. And the writing, when it hits, it really hits. I think what makes a narrative game great is how it gets you to care about the characters, and I ended up caring a lot about people I never even expected to like. Naruto even has a party system like in RPG games, which isn't a mechanic we see a lot in point-and-click adventure games. The addition of it here really helped those connections with the characters grow. Is Naruto a new favorite of mine? No, because there were moments that felt like a bit of a reach and some of the writing didn't always speak to me, but it's definitely an experience I'll remember. One that really left its mark on me. And yeah, I feel like I could just keep going, so I'll stop here. I'll just say this. While Narco didn't replace Disco Elysium in my heart, it echoed in a similar place. My next April favorite is If Found. This is a hand-drawn visual novel and it follows Cassio, a young trans woman who returns to her childhood home in rural Ireland during the early 90s. The story is told through the pages of Cassio's diary and the gameplay revolves around erasing. You literally wipe away memories, people, and even entire scenes to move the story forward. If you love found family and graphic novels, definitely play this. It's more of an interactive novel and there are bonus scenes after you roll the credits where you can literally make your own journal. Of course, as expected from any Annapurna game, it was highly emotional and gave me multiple goosebumps. I also love the fact it's set in Ireland and included many Irish words and their meanings. And my final favorite for April is Ghost on the Shore. This is a beautifully made walking sim and I think it's really underrated for what it is. If you loved Firewatch and have been craving a game like this might really scratch that itch. Since in this one you're also talking to a companion and making dialogue choices all throughout the game. There are multiple endings, good storytelling, lots of beautiful scenery, an island that you want to keep exploring. I think it really deserves more love. Before I forget, a narrative game that seemed exactly my kind of thing. Unfortunately, it ended up feeling pretty cliché. The way it used color was nice, but I expected a bit more from the art direction for a short indie game like this. I finally played a game I bought at launch back in 2015. Yeah, it sat in my backlog for nearly 10 years. That should tell you a lot about the situation of my backlog. Submerged is a post-apocalyptic game where you're trying to save your injured brother, but strangely there's zero combat. Even though the gameplay loop is based around climbing, you can't fall, and even though it's a post-apocalyptic world, nothing can hurt you. On paper, that sounds relaxing, and I usually love cozy games. But here, something felt a little off. The platforming was incredibly repetitive, the controls were janky, and the world didn't feel alive. That said, it was nice to finally check it off the list. At first, I was totally in love with Far Changing Tides. The first hour was great, but by hour 3, I was close to uninstalling it. This is definitely a game for patient gamers. Everything takes so much time. The puzzles were simple enough, but there were moments when I missed something, like a button to press, and I ended up backtracking 10 times only to realize the solution was right in front of me. It's been 5 years since I played the first game, so I forgot how much it relied on fuel management. At first, I didn't bother collecting everything and burned through fuel until I got stranded underwater with no wind and no fuel in sight. That forced me to reload an earlier save, which was the point that made me want to stop playing. I wish the game focused more on the narrative, like where we're going, why, and the puzzles, instead of leaning so heavily on resource management. There were so many items I didn't understand. I wasn't sure if they were important, so I kept holding onto them, but I guess they were just fuel. I kept thinking they'd unlock something or be useful later, but nope. Also, there were times when I'd go so long without encountering anything new, and the background started repeating that I seriously wondered if the game had bugged out or if I was stuck in a loop. While I really like the color palette in this one, I think the gameplay and the world in the first game were way more interesting. After that, I jumped into Twin Mirror, a game I'd been wanting to play since launch, but kept putting off because of bad reviews. I'm such a sucker for the small towns that Dontnod creates. I love meeting new characters, slowly taking in the details of every diner and cafe. Their ability to build atmosphere never disappoints. I also appreciate how they're trying new things with their games instead of sticking to the Life is Strange formula, though I'd also be happy if they kept making those forever. That said, this felt like their weakest game. I knew it wasn't very well received, but I thought I would be maybe the exception. People said the same thing about Tell Me Why, and I ended up loving that one, so I had hope. Unfortunately, Twin Mirror felt rushed. The characters didn't have any depth, and I really didn't enjoy the Mind Palace mechanic. It reminded me of that one memory scene of Max from Life is Strange that didn't really work for me either, and here it's a full-on core feature. The twist didn't hit, the ending felt off, and I never once felt like I was solving a mystery. Still, I wasn't bored at all. The atmosphere kept me going, and there was something comforting about the tone. For fans of Dontnod, there are still little moments and details you'll probably enjoy, but story-wise, this is definitely their weakest so far. Milky Way Prince, the Vampire Star. It's a visual novel that explores an intense and unhealthy relationship and mental illnesses. It's so uncomfortable to talk about other people's work in a negative way, but well, here we go. I think this is a very overdone visual novel style, and it didn't feel like the game had anything new to say. It also felt unnecessarily long. Scenes that should take 1 second took 10, and not in an atmospheric way, just stretched out. It felt like they maybe wanted to hit a certain playtime so people wouldn't refund it after finishing, and instead of adding new content, they just made everything slower, which is a shame for people who don't refund short games because we're also stuck sitting through it. Minutes. This game is all black and white, and I love color, so I knew from the start it wouldn't be my thing, but I still wanted to give it a shot. And it was actually better than I expected. I genuinely had a lot of fun for about 5 minutes, so like 5 loops, but the rest of the time I just felt kind of dumb. I was completely lost at times, just wandering around aimlessly, which got boring. Plus, because of the game's visual style, it can be really easy to miss important stuff. Mortician's Tale, you can probably tell from the name what the game's about. It could have been a much better game if the dialogue was stronger. I was expecting something way deeper and more thought-provoking, especially with a topic like this, but it just felt kind of hollow. Little Wings Deliveries. The developer described it as a short hike like they said, it did remind me of a short hike. You play as a bird again, going on a small adventure. It was a bit janky at times and even made me a little dizzy, but overall it was a cute and short game. Sheepy, a short adventure, felt like the love child of Celeste and Hollow Knight, which are both obviously masterpieces. The soundtrack made my jaw drop, especially A Journey's Pace. It's free and lasts about an hour, but with the collectibles, I think it could give you a really fun 2 hours of game time. There was a sequence that honestly put the biggest smile on my face. It felt really euphoric. If you played the game, I think you definitely know which part I'm talking about. Definitely looking forward to more games from this developer. The Artful Escape. It's another game I bought on launch 4 years ago that's been collecting dust. It's a game about a young musician and filled with vibrant colors, and it was just okay. I expected it to be perfect. The Artful Escape starts off in the most stunning, cozy looking small town I've ever seen called Calypso. I thought that's where the whole game would take place, but it soon takes you on a literal psychedelic trip. It felt like the Disneyland Electrical Sky Parade show at times, which is one of the highest compliments I can give for a game like this. The visuals were amazing, one incredible environment after the other, but honestly I feel like that's almost all the game's charm. We're a musician, but I didn't really enjoy the rhythm game part. There are lots of dialogue choices, but none of them really matter. Yes, the music was great, but it gave me a headache after 20 minutes. Everything felt a bit too extravagant. It literally felt like I was on drugs almost all throughout the game. I would have been happier with a cozy, artsy music game set in this small town. I mean, I really liked it, but it feels like it could have been the perfect game for me and just took the wrong turn. In the hopes of playing the perfect game that will deeply move me, I chose one that everyone says because it's very similar to my favorite game of all time. I launched Norco. I feel like I can make a whole video just talking about this game. Almost all the reviews I read of Norco talk about how if you love Disco Elysium, you'd probably love this too, and honestly, even just reading random quotes from Disco Elysium is enough to tear me up and give me goosebumps, so I was excited to see if Norco would fill the aching gap Disco Elysium left in me. While I do see where the comparisons come from, I think the two games have completely different tones. Disco Elysium gives me hope. Even when everything is falling apart, it has this weird warmth to it. Norco felt darker and heavier. It's less about finding connection and more about grief, memory, and returning to something that no longer fits. That said, I loved it. The setting is incredibly rich, a southern sci-fi landscape full of industrial decay, religious imagery, and surreal moments that somehow all work together. It has this deep, swampy atmosphere that wraps around you. Visually and emotionally, it sticks. And the writing, when it hits, it really hits. I think what makes a narrative game great is how it gets you to care about the characters, and I ended up caring a lot about people I never even expected to like. Norco even has a party system like in RPG games, which isn't a mechanic we see a lot in point-and-click adventure games. The addition of it here really helped those connections with the characters grow. Is Norco a new favorite of mine? No, because there were moments that felt like a bit of a reach and some of the writing didn't always speak to me, but it's definitely an experience I'll remember. One that really left its mark on me. And yeah, I feel like I could just keep going, so I'll stop here. I'll just say this. While Norco didn't replace Disco Elysium in my heart, it echoed in a similar place. Everything. I'm honestly shocked I didn't love this game. So Everything is a philosophical game. It's like an interactive experience where you can become everything. I mean, not quite everything, but you can become many things. I think the biggest reason why I didn't love it is that everything, of course, includes arachnids, and it felt like a jump scare when I accidentally became one or got small enough to see them. I was expecting it to be a euphoric experience, and it wasn't. The Almost Gone is a really clean looking puzzle game, and what attracted me to the game was definitely its aesthetic. I really love how it looks and how the game works in these small rooms. I also like the storytelling, though I thought some of the puzzles were absurd, especially in chapter 4. I had to cheat and check the solutions for a few, which kind of ruins the fun in a puzzle game. Frog Detective 1, The Haunted Island. It's a cozy game where, the title says it all, where you're a frog detective. Since it's such a short game, there is not much to say, except it was cute and only an hour to finish. Felt like a short, feel-good movie. Rainy Day. So this is a cute obstacle avoiding game where you're just trying to get home without getting drenched in the rain. You have to dodge cars and bikes that splash water on you as they pass. It's free on Steam and only takes about 30 minutes to finish, and it was really nice. I started playing Evan's Remains, and just as I was about to finish it, I encountered a game-breaking bug and lost my save file before I could roll the credits on it. I was fairly enjoying this game, the puzzles felt balanced most of the time, and the story was intriguing. But just as I reached Zone 7, almost about to complete the game, I would say I was 85% in, the power went out. When I turned my PC back on, I got an error trying to launch the game. I restarted my PC, verified the game files, but nothing worked. When I googled the error, I saw a few people reporting the same issue back in 2020, triggered the same way. They'd found a fix, which was to delete the save file manually and start over. The developer had even responded saying he would look into it. Sadly, 5 years later, it still hasn't been fixed, and I lost 3 hours of progress. I had to restart the game, which went much faster since I knew the puzzles and skipped all the dialogue, but it still felt like a chore. In short, it was a good game that turned into a frustrating experience because of a game-breaking bug. If Found, a game I originally started in 2020, its release year, but never played further than the first chapter because I had this really toxic habit of procrastinating things I knew I would love until the perfect time arrives. I try really hard not to do that anymore, so I went for this game I was sure I would love. And I did. This is a hand-drawn visual novel and it follows Cassio, a young trans woman who returns to her childhood home in rural Ireland during the early 90s. The story is told through the pages of Cassio's diary and the gameplay revolves around erasing. You literally wipe away memories, people, and even entire scenes to move the story forward. If you love found family and graphic novels, definitely play this. It's more of an interactive novel and there are bonus scenes after you roll the credits where you can literally make your own journal. Of course, as expected from any Annapurna game, it was highly emotional and gave me multiple goosebumps. I also love the fact it's set in Ireland and included many Irish words and their meanings posted on the shore. This is a beautifully made walking sim and I think it's really underrated for what it is. If you loved Firewatch and have been craving a game like this might really scratch that itch. Since in this one you're also talking to a companion and making dialogue choices all throughout the game. There are multiple endings, good storytelling, lots of beautiful scenery, an island that you want to keep exploring. I think it really deserves more love. I decided to play the second Frog Detective game. I found the second game weaker than the first. Every time I picked up an item, the notebook would slowly open and slowly update, and it honestly drove me a bit crazy. It was especially rough during the quest where you have to find 5 pies. Each pie took me 3 seconds to find, but then I had to wait through 10 seconds of notebook animation. I was so bored and I feel bad saying that because it's such a cute game. I replayed one of my comfort cozy games, which is unpacking. I haven't been using my Switch for probably more than a year and I really wanted to replay this for a while and pay more attention to the underlying story, and it was such a sweet experience handheld. I replayed another one of my favorite games, Florence, this time on my phone. This game is literally on every platform and I think it's the first actual game I've played on my phone if we exclude mobile games. It took me under an hour to complete and it's just so good. I, again, replayed another one of my favorites, Sayonara Wild Hearts. This game is a masterpiece. Please try it for yourself. It's literally an experience. I think I could replay this every few months without ever getting bored. Card Shark first caught my eye with its art style, and before playing it, I had no knowledge of cards. I didn't even know what a spade or a club was, or which card was the most powerful. This game actually taught me some useful stuff. It explains everything, and yes, it can definitely feel a bit complex at times, but once you practice a little, your hand gets used to the tricks and you start understanding the logic behind them. Story-wise, I didn't really have any expectations, so I was pleasantly surprised. There were many moments that made me laugh out loud, and of course, the best part of the game, the art style is spectacular. I love traveling around France as well as some other European countries. Everything looked like a beautiful painting, so open. So in this one, you play as a kid buying groceries on their own for the first time. Reading this description, I went in expecting a small game, but there was a lot more to explore than I thought. You can select your items, check out and end the game, or you can keep exploring and find secrets. It was really sweet and fun. I love finding hidden gems like this. There was a game I started playing 3 years ago. I played halfway and dropped it since I didn't enjoy it. There was nothing really memorable about the game, but for some reason it got stuck in my brain, as I guess unfinished things often do. If I had completed it, I probably wouldn't even remember its name, but I still remembered the plot and everything, so I decided to finish it and be done with it. It's called Crowns and Pawns: Kingdom of Deceit. It's a point-and-click adventure game set in modern-day in Europe. As I said, I didn't enjoy it a lot, but at least it won a occupy my brain anymore. It's not a bad game, by the way, just a really average one. Air, Memories of Old. I remember playing this game briefly for like 20 minutes many years ago, but I didn't understand what to do or what the purpose was, so I stopped. I decided to give it another chance now that I played many games of this genre. I thought maybe I had misunderstood the game, but nope. It was still as boring and felt really meaningless. The world felt really empty. Everything I would expect from an exploration game just wasn't there. At the beginning of May, I thought I would have tons of free time to do whatever I wanted, but somehow, without meaning to, I ended up creating a whole list of new tasks for myself. Every day something came up, and slowly that totally free month turned into one where I barely had time to play even an hour a day, and most of the little free time I had was spent on Final Fantasy XIV Online. I didn't even do any main story quests. I was just so tired most days that I just logged in to do some job quests, mostly fishing ones, and then people watched in Limsa for a while before logging off. It became this little cozy evening activity that helped me wind down. So yeah, sadly I didn't roll the credits on anything this month. I usually like to finish games before I talk about them, but I still wanted to share what I played this month. I chose to include only the games I played for at least 3 hours, so I had time to get a solid feel for their gameplay and overall vibe. Let's start with the Deliver at All Costs. This game completely took me by surprise in the best way. I only heard about it while preparing for my May upcoming games video, and it immediately caught my attention. In this game, you start a new job delivering the weirdest, most unconventional cargo you can imagine. The storytelling has this serious tone, but the actual gameplay is just pure chaos and silly fun, and I love how those two sides clash. It makes the game so unique, and I feel like these days there aren't enough games that let you have just plain stupid fun. Deliver at All Costs totally nails that feeling. The whole late 50s aesthetic, the vehicle designs, the world itself, it all looks so cool. The open world is really fun to explore, and the destruction mechanics are super satisfying. The cutscenes and voice acting also feels so high quality. I don't know where the story will go, as I've only played around 4 hours so far, and half of that was probably me driving around the map and enjoying the scenery, but I feel like it might go crazy places since it already had me caring about some of the characters. I definitely recommend this to people who enjoy retro vibes and arcade driving and explosions and pure fun, honestly. And then I played Best Served Cold. This is a murder mystery game where you are a mixologist in a speakeasy, and it's also set in the 1920s, I think. I mean, I'm not sure if a year was specified in the game, but that's definitely the vibe it gives. If you've played Coffee Talk, it definitely feels very similar. It's like the mystery version of that, though in this one, when you are preparing the drinks, you don't actually choose the ingredients, but rather you follow a pattern on the screen with your mouse to make the drink. You talk to customers and gather clues. You can match clues to each other and talk about these clues with other customers to learn more. It feels really cozy, and the story is really intriguing. There is a big cast of characters and they're all so interesting to get to know too, and their art design is so pretty. There are multiple cases to solve, by the way, which keeps the game from becoming too repetitive or tiring. I kind of wish I got to play this in fall under a blanket with a warm drink. And finally, Kitchen Sink Aloha. This is a cozy story-driven cooking game set in Hawaii, and it's so much more detailed than I expected. You take on the role of head chef at your family's legendary restaurant, which was super famous back in the day. From there, you build a team of chefs, learn new recipes, experiment with twists on classic dishes, and try to figure out which combinations work best. There is a great narrative with lots of different elements. You enter competitions decorations, set up pop-ups around Hawaii, learn how to work in and adapt to new kitchen layouts, and even build your relationships with your co-workers. There are romantic relationships too. You can go on cute little dates like hiking or fishing. I wasn't sure if the gameplay itself would hold my attention because I haven't played many time management style cooking games before, but it turned out to be super fun and really satisfying. The upgrades and recipe tweaks are so enjoyable to play around with, and the character art is absolutely beautiful. Honestly, the food looks amazing too. Every time I play, I end up craving the food on the screen. And that's everything I played in May. Cast and chill, an idle fishing game that honestly feels like a work of art. I've had it running in the background most of the time while I was working, kind of like ambient noise or a calming screen to glance at, but saying that almost feels unfair because if you want to actually engage with it and play it actively, you absolutely can. There is a good amount of depth with so many different types of fish and bait options to try. It's the kind of game you can play for a few minutes between tasks and it still feels really rewarding. That's how I've been using it, taking little breaks throughout the day to enjoy a few quiet moments by the water. The atmosphere is what truly makes it special. It captures the feeling of real-life fishing beautifully. You hear the gentle sounds of water, see the sun sparkling on the surface, and take in the view of mountains in the distance. That quiet, patient wait for a catch feels peaceful and immersive in the best way. And just like the name says, it is incredibly chill. The visuals are stunning too. The whole game looks like a painting brought to life with soft colors and gorgeous scenery, and I honestly can't get enough of looking at it. Then we have Locomoto. I started playing this during a long train ride and thought it would be kind of funny and fitting to play a game about a train while actually being on one. At first, I thought it would just be a casual train sim, something relaxing to pass the time, but I quickly found myself getting really into it. Right when you launch the game, you're greeted with a surprisingly detailed character creation screen. I wasn't expecting character creation from a game that, at first glance, seemed to be mainly about trains. It was a really pleasant surprise and immediately gave the game a cozy, personal feeling. The more I played, the more I realized that Locomoto is actually more of a life sim than a pure train simulator. It reminded me a lot of Animal Crossing. I don't just mean the fact that there are cute animal characters and they talk in that familiar style, but the whole atmosphere really gives off Animal Crossing vibes. You clean up the environment, decorate your train, and slowly build a little life for yourself while helping others along the way. The art style is cute and colorful, and everything feels lighthearted and welcoming. In the game, you play as a train conductor trying to save your hometown from an environmental crisis. Along the way, you travel to different places, meet new characters, pick up passengers, deliver parcels, and even serve hot cocoa and pie on the train. You can also help townsfolk with their personal problems, collect and sort trash, and explore areas around the stations. There's even mining, chopping trees, and digging soil, which adds a layer of resource management to the gameplay. The biggest con for me was the train rides. I wish the rides between stations were a bit shorter. Sometimes they feel like unnecessary downtime, and I often found myself just waiting around, wishing I could fast forward. The quests are mostly fetch quests, which I personally enjoy, but I know that's a deal breaker for some people, so if you're someone who doesn't like that kind of repetitive task structure, it's something to be aware of before jumping in, but for me, it added to the charm and the rhythm of the game. The lo-fi music playing softly in the background makes this a great game to get cozy with. Then I played The White Door, which is a Rusty Lake game, and I absolutely loved it. There are way too many point-and-click puzzle games, and I'm not a big fan of this genre, but The White Door stood out because of how immersive and creative its narrative style is. One of my favorite things is the way the game connects your actions directly to the story. For example, when the text says something like, "She took a sip," you actually have to perform that action yourself. It's such a simple mechanic, but it draws you into the character's world in a way that feels incredibly intimate and interactive. So the game follows Robert Hill, a man who wakes up in a mysterious mental health facility with no memory of how he got there. Each day follows a strict routine, but as you progress, surreal memories and dreamlike sequences experiences begin to surface. The way everything is structured makes the whole game feel like a fever dream with strange visuals, eerie atmosphere, and that constant sense that something isn't quite right. The pacing of the game is slow but deliberate, which I personally loved. It gives you space to absorb what's happening and reflect on the layers of symbolism. If you're not familiar with Rusty Lake, they have a whole interconnected universe of psychological mystery games, often blending dark themes with surreal storytelling. The White Door is technically a standalone, but there are clever connections to the rest of the Rusty Lake world that fans will appreciate. You don't need to play the others to enjoy this one, but if you do, you'll start noticing all the little recurring themes, characters, and hidden lore. The White Door is really short. It's one of those games you can finish in one sitting, but it left a lasting impression on me. Out of the circle, what can I even say? Cinema. Absolute cinema. My heart is still heavy from the experience. This game took me by surprise in the best way. I was glued to the screen the entire time, completely immersed, biting my nails during some of the scenes. When I call it cinema, I really mean it. This is an interactive film, and honestly, I wouldn't have wanted it to be anything else. The story follows Peter, a young academic from Cambridge during the Cold War era. It's set in the 1960s and switches between two timelines. In one, Peter finds himself stranded in Antarctica after a plane crash, and in the other, he goes back to his life in England, especially focusing on his relationship with Clara, a fellow academic. Their story is at the heart of the game, and it's told so beautifully. The way their bond slowly unfolds, how they navigate the expectations of their time, how their ideals and careers clash with the political climate, it all hits so hard. I completely fell for these characters. I felt so invested in their future, and I genuinely cared about what would happen to them. Visually, the game is stunning. It has this soft, minimal art style with muted colors and clean shapes that somehow make everything feel both cozy and tense at the same time. It's very stylized but incredibly effective. The animation feels fluid and intentional, almost like you're watching a moving painting. It adds to the quiet, reflective mode of the game and pulls you even deeper into the story. The transitions between the snowy emptiness of Antarctica and the warm, candlelit rooms of Cambridge are seamless and filled with meaning. They gave me goosebumps. The writing, though, is what really makes this game unforgettable. Every line feels like it matters. The themes are deep and personal. It talks about memory, love, duty, and identity. It explores how people choose between safety and truth, between comfort and change, and how political systems quietly shape even the most private parts of our life. But it never feels preachy or too heavy-handed. The writing stays grounded in the characters and their experiences, and the voice acting is absolutely amazing. The performances feel honest and natural, and they carry so much emotion. It feels like watching a great film, the kind where the characters linger in your mind long after the credits roll. South of the Circle made me feel like I was reading a beautifully written book, but also like I was watching a quiet, powerful movie at the same time. I laughed, I cried, I felt anxious, hopeful, and heartbroken. The whole experience was so emotionally rich. Yes, it's not a game where you do a lot mechanically, but you feel everything. It's a great example of how strong narrative games can be when they trust their story and atmosphere. When it ended, I didn't even move for a few minutes. I just sat there, staring at the screen, letting it all wash over me. If you're someone who appreciates emotional storytelling and doesn't mind a slower pace, I can't recommend it enough. July was literally the most tiring month. We traveled too much and I slept 5 hours on average every day, but I promised myself before we even began the month that in July I would make time for gaming, so I was trying really hard to keep this promise to myself. Let's talk about the games I've played. First, we have Oxenfree 2, which I've picked up for dirt cheap during the Steam summer sales. Like, it didn't deserve to be that low. Now I feel guilty for paying that little. It was like €1. I feel even even guiltier now that I'm going to say some negative things about it. I'm not really into paranormal, supernatural stuff, but I love the first game since the dialogue system was something I've never seen before. It felt so natural, the way the sentences got caught and how many different paths a conversation could go to. I also have a weak spot for games where we play as a group of teenagers, so the first game was an amazing experience for me, even when the theme of the game didn't really interest me. Sadly, it didn't really go like this in Oxenfree 2. The dialogue system felt not as good, honestly even annoying at times. Like, I would be talking to another character through the radio, and halfway through the conversation the character next to me starts a random conversation and the other conversation I was having would just be randomly cut and I would have to start over. This happened like every 2 minutes and it frustrated me a lot. And now in this game we don't play as a teenager, but I think someone in their 30s, and okay, of course I'm okay with that. In so many of my favorite games I play as a 50-year-old dude, but sadly in Oxenfree 2 the characters were so boring. Our main character Riley and our sidekick Jacob literally felt like unsalted food. Their dialogue was so boring and I didn't feel any connection whatsoever. Now that we got the negatives out of the way, there were certainly aspects of the game that I've enjoyed, like the art style. Honestly, every location looks like a work of art and I really enjoyed running around, climbing up and down and seeing all these beautifully drawn places. I loved the muted color palette and the VHS effects and basically everything else visually. And I know I talked badly about the dialogue, but I still enjoyed it to some extent. I love this dialogue system. It just worked way less for me than it did in the first game. And since the second game released 7 years after the first one, I was expecting a big improvement rather than a downgrade. But I don't regret spending my time playing Oxenfree. I still would recommend it, especially if you're into supernatural themes. There's not a lot of them around and Oxenfree 2 is still definitely above average. Then I played Everdeep Aurora. This is not a game I completed, I just played a few hours of it, enough to have a good feeling of the game. The thing that immediately caught my eye with this one was the visuals and of course the fact that we play as a little cat. So in this one, an ongoing apocalyptic meteor shower forced everyone to settle underground and we drill deep down to search for our missing mother. This is not my usual genre, but I really enjoyed the few hours I've played since the exploration was really nice. Carving paths underground, exploring around and meeting new characters who are all really different from each other felt nice. I chose to explore the world and collect resources rather than progressing with the main story in my 2.5-hour playtime. And then I had to quit the game, but I couldn't find the save button anywhere and the game didn't tell me anything about it, so I quit, really hoping that the game automatically saved, but sadly it didn't. And when I launched the game again, I had a new game button rather than a continue one. Sadly, that destroyed all my excitement about the game since it relies a lot on exploration and the thought of slowly drilling through the same areas I've already seen didn't really appeal to me and I decided to stop my Everdeep Aura adventure there. Next up is Yes, Your Grace. If you're looking for a game you can play in short 15 to 20 minute sessions without needing too much focus and still feel like you're progressing in the story even if you play in short bursts, Yes, Your Grace is a great pick. It has a really satisfying loop where people come to you with their problems and you get to make decisions that affect their lives and the fate of your kingdom. Since every day a line of characters shows up with their own unique issues, even short sessions feel meaningful. You're constantly making small choices that add up over time and each conversation feels like a little self-contained quest, and that gives a strong sense of progression even if you only have a few minutes to play at a time. I really like the idea behind the game. You're not managing resources in a detailed way or fighting battles, mostly listening to people's requests and choosing who to help. I think it's simple but it's very effective. There's something really satisfying about looking over your kingdom, trying to balance what little resource you have and deciding who gets your support each day. And while it looks like a light management game at first, the story goes in a much more serious direction than I expected. Some of the events are pretty dark and heavy and the choices you're given can feel genuinely difficult. It surprised me in a good way. The world feels lived in and the tone shifts from hopeful to desperate in a way that keeps you engaged. engage. That said, I think the emotional side of the story mostly works if you're willing to think about the implications yourself. The game doesn't really push those feelings on you through dramatic scenes or writing. Instead, it just presents things plainly, and it's kind of up to you to feel the weight of what's happening. And I think that can be powerful, but it also made some moments feel a bit distant. I didn't always feel as emotionally invested as I could have, even though I was actually interested in what was going on. And some of the gameplay elements also got frustrating after a while. When my kingdom ran out of gold or villager contentments dropped to 0, the game just ended immediately. There was no warning or way to recover, just a black screen telling me that it was over, and the only option was to go back a few days and make different choices, which meant repeating the exact same dialogue and scenes just to try a slightly different path. That kind of design made things feel boring. I wish the game let you fail more gracefully, like instead of instantly ending, it could have introduced consequences, new story branches, or even permanent sacrifices that let the story continue in a more broken state. That would have made the world feel more alive and made the choices feel more meaningful. Still, Yes Your Grace was a game I enjoyed and would recommend. And then I played Misk A Tiny Tale. In this one, we play as a little robot, and after a mysterious explosion rains trash from the sky, it's our job to collect, clean, and help each village while uncovering the secret behind the blast. If you like fetch quests, quirky dialogue, and collectathons, this is a cute game. I really enjoyed being this tiny robot in this big world and slowly cleaning the environment, exploring every nook and cranny to collect everything, and the platform mechanics. The whole game feels like a playground since you're so small compared to everything else, and I think that's what stands out the most. The platforming is simple but fun. It doesn't try to challenge you too much, but it keeps you moving and gives just enough variety to make exploring feel active. There are moments where you have to figure out how to reach a tricky spot, and the way the game encourages creative movement without punishing mistakes makes it feel very relaxed and cozy. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with it. It's not a game that's going to completely blow you away or do anything wildly new, but that's okay. It delivers exactly what it sets out to be: a warm, low-pressure adventure where you get to clean, collect, explore, and help out. Then we have The Merry Fairy, a super cute and cozy scrapbook journaling sim. You're in a cute cottage and you have this little enchanted cozy desk area with all the tools you need for journaling at your disposal, like so many cute stickers and washi tapes and really soothing background music. It's the perfect background app to accompany you while you work. There's a little bell that rings every 30 minutes reminding you to take a break, and you can completely ignore it, or you can have a little chat with the character during your break. You can create to-do lists, jot down your thoughts, and design beautiful journal pages. I always want to be able to use little apps/games like these while I work, but sadly I can't be near a PC or I get too distracted, so I could only test it for a day. But I have a friend who actually feels even more productive with tools like this, so if you're the same, I think The Merry Fairy would be a great addition to your productivity setup. The only thing I would wish for is a bit more variety in the stickers, since some of them feel a little outdated, kind of like they're from the early 2010s, but I think more will probably be added in future updates. And finally, we have Magic Inn. This is a cozy magical tavern management game. I was so excited for this one since I love restaurant management games, witchy vibes, and the cozy atmospheres, but in my first 30 minutes playing it, I was really disappointed. The character creation felt very weak, the options are really limited, like when I was going through the different options for nose, they all look literally the same, so much so that I thought it might be a bug, and I wanted to create a character that looks similar to me, but there is not even the basic straight long hair option. The game is in third person and we always see our characters, so I think more variety would be really nice, as in games like this, I want to create my character as close to myself as possible. Anyway, then I started playing the game and I was disappointed once again with the camera controls and the tutorials, which really overwhelmed me. The game is really easy to play and figure out, but the game throws a lot of tutorial text at you every 2 minutes. But then I kept playing and the game started being really fun, like really fun. The more you play, the more mechanics you unlock. I unlocked my magic wand, which I can fly plates with, burn the spider webs on the ceiling, create a cloud of rain to clean the tables and the dirty plates, change the shape of furniture, and so many other things. You can craft so many cute items and decorate your tavern. You can have regular customers, learn new recipes, so many new drinks, go to the market to meet new people and to shop for ingredients. There was a lot of depth that really helped me overlook the negatives of the game, and I'm so glad I didn't immediately stop playing because the game has a lot to offer. The characters have a lot of variety and the dialogue is really fun and interesting. I didn't feel like skipping any dialogue and really enjoy getting to meet new characters. I have regular customers that come every day to have a drink, and starting to slowly get to know them and recognize their name feels so nice. Like, it feels so realistic, just like running a real life magical tavern would feel, I guess. And it's so cozy. And that was everything I played in July. Every single game I played in August are actually August releases. The first game I want to talk about is one I have been waiting for years, and that is Out and About. I've been following the development of this game for such a long time, so of course I was really excited when it was finally released, and when I first started the game, the charm hit me instantly. About 30 minutes in, I realized I had already fallen in love with so many little details. The skipping animation, the way your character walks downhill, the coziness of the world around you, it all felt magical. And then there is the plant identification mechanic. I did not expect to get so caught up in looking at leaves and flowers, but I felt like I was learning so many things, so I was hooked. The first 2 hours of the game had me wanting to scream because of how cute everything was. But as I kept playing, some of that initial excitement started to fade. The first place where my enthusiasm dipped was with the cooking system. I expected something interactive, maybe a small minigame where you chop, stir, or prepare ingredients, even if only through QuickTime events. Instead, you simply select cook and the food is instantly ready. There is a cute short animation, but it's the same one every time, so after a while it does not feel very engaging. The same thing happened when it came to repairing or fixing things in the world. For example, if there is a blocked tunnel, you simply hand over the resources and it is repaired immediately. I really wish the game gave us something a little more immersive here, like waiting a day for repairs to be completed, or at least showing a short animation of the work being done. That extra touch would make the world feel more alive and responsive rather than static. Another area that felt underdeveloped was the photo mode. I love photo modes in games, especially in cozy ones, because they let me slow down and really appreciate the scenery. But here, the options are so limited and you can't really do anything with it. I don't think there was a way to view the photos I had taken, and you also cannot hide the HUD or play around with things like camera angles or lighting. For such a beautiful game, it feels like a shame not to have a richer photography system. Then there is the structure of the gameplay itself. From what I've played so far, the game mostly follows a main story made up of fetch quests. I was expecting something more open and explorative, where I could wander around, spend lots of time with the plants, and simply exist in nature. Instead, most of my time was spent running around town, talking to NPCs, and progressing in a fairly linear way. I would say it was about 70% talking and questing, and only 30% harvesting or identifying plants. That ratio surprised me because what originally drew me to the game was the promise of those calm, nature-filled moments. I also ran into quite a few typos and little errors. For example, in one quest called Town Tonic, the text said, "Help Barbara restore her remedies," and then right underneath it said, "Talk to Barbara." She's supposed to be called Barbara, so 2 typos in a single quest feels too much and too distracting. I also noticed some phrasing that felt awkward. I was reading the dialogue out loud in my playthrough video and I had to pause many times to understand the text. Of course, these are the kind of things that can be forgiven in early access, but I think it's still worth mentioning. But even with those frustrations, I see a lot of potential in Out and About. I understand why the developers decided to release it in early access because it feels like the kind of game that could benefit a lot from community feedback. If they listen to players and continue refining these systems, I really think the game could grow into something beautiful and memorable. And despite my critiques, I can't and don't want to downplay what's already there. It feels so cozy to play and I adore the art style. I even learned how to identify some plants that I never knew about before, which was such a delightful surprise for me as someone who doesn't know much about plants at all. So even though I think there's still a lot of work to be done, I do still recommend Out and About in its current state. There's definitely fun to be had, and if you're looking for something cozy, gentle, and relaxing, this game already offers that. Everything I said comes from a place of really believing in the game's potential, and maybe being a little sad to see it not fully realized yet. I will keep playing it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it evolves toward its full release. Next, I finally got to play one of my most anticipated releases of the year, Tiny Bookshop, and oh my god, it is everything I've ever wanted and more. The premise is simple but so charming. One day we pack up our things, leave our old life behind and move to this quiet seaside town called Buxtonbury, where we start running our very own tiny bookshop on wheels. From literally the very first second, the townsfolk warmly accept us, and that alone sets such a comforting tone. Even the little background stories for the characters are cozy and sweet. For example, there is Tilde, who used to run the old bookstore in town. She's retired now, but she often stops by our shop because she misses the atmosphere and the feeling of being surrounded by books. Then there's Fern, who writes for the local newspaper. Each person you meet fits perfectly with the energy of the game and with the town itself. As someone who has always been an avid book reader and loves exploring all kinds of genres, this game feels like a dream come true. Checking the newspaper every day for reasonably priced mystery book bundles or for used book boxes is so cute, but of course what's even better is selling these books and having conversations with customers. Some customers will ask for recommendations and suddenly you are sorting through your shelves trying to match them with their perfect next read. Other times you stumble across a favorite book of your own or something that has been sitting on your TBR list for months or years, and it just feels so dreamy. There's even this small delight when a customer starts talking passionately about a book they love and you realize you have never heard of it before, so of course you end up adding it to your own TBR. It's such a fun loop of sharing and discovery. Of course, what makes this whole game even more special is that the books in Tiny Bookshop are real. It's not a made-up catalog of generic titles, but actual books you could go and pick up in real life. Because of that, the game ended up teaching me about so many interesting books I had never encountered before, and it also made me look differently at books I'd heard of but never really looked into. Like, the amount of times I paused the game to search up a book and add it to my TBR is a lot. There are also a lot of little touches that make the game feel richer and more alive. The flea market is a lovely addition where you can find unique things, and decorating your shop with small items that boost certain genres adds another layer of strategy without ever breaking the cozy atmosphere. The quests, the charming interactions with townsfolk, and the beautifully drawn cozy locations all come together to create a place you want to keep revisiting. In terms of gameplay, it is a lot slower than you might expect. Once your bookshop is open for the day, it almost has the rhythm of an idle game. You spend a lot of time waiting, watching the flow of the town, and occasionally helping a customer who needs a recommendation. For some players, this pace might feel too slow, but for me, it honestly fits the theme perfectly. That said, I don't think it's the type of game you can play for 5 hours straight without it starting to feel dull or repetitive at one point. Instead, it feels like the perfect game to play in short sessions, like one peaceful hour in the morning with your cup of coffee, perfect for easing your brain into the day. If I had to name a negative, there's only really one that stands out, and that is that I wish we could actually see inside the bookshop. The entire perspective is from outside, and while that is still charming, part of me kept wanting to peek inside and watch how it looks when people are browsing, or like to organize the shelves while we're actually in the bookshop. But honestly, that is such a small thing compared to how much I loved everything else. Tiny Bookshop did not disappoint me at all, and I say that as someone who had big expectations going into it. It is so cozy, heartfelt, and I think it's exactly the dream game for cozy gamers who are also book lovers. Then I played the Off remake. I've never played the original, but I heard about it for years and I knew how much of an influence it had on this genre. So I went in with curiosity but without the ability to compare the remake to the original. What I can say though is that playing this version has actually made me want to go back and try the original one day, preferably in French since that was the language it was originally made in. It feels like the kind of game where the language and the cultural context probably adds an extra layer of atmosphere, so it's given me even more motivation to improve my French before I dive in. One of my favorite things about the game is the soundtrack. The music is incredible and fits perfectly with the tone of the world. And then of course there's the world itself, which is unlike anything else I've played before. The lore feels so unique and there's this pleasantly grotesque energy in the whole game. It's unsettling at times, but not in a way that pushes you away, more in a way that makes you lean closer and pay more attention. After that, I played Herdling. This is the newest release from Okomotive, the team behind the Far games, and it has that similar quiet atmospheric style, but the experience itself feels very different. Instead of controlling a large machine across desolate landscapes, we step into the role of a young shepherd guiding a herd of horned creatures called calicorns. From the very beginning of the game, we meet a calicorn and name it, we quickly start feeling attached, and soon we have a whole herd of them and we lead them through forests, mountains, dangerous environments, and yes, they can get injured and even permanently die, which is not something I expected from this game. That feels really heavy because you're basically responsible for keeping these animals safe throughout the game, but luckily there's also an immortality option if you don't want to deal with that stress. And other than that, I promise it's really such a chill, cozy game. Just walking with my herd without any dialogue except the sounds of the environment, taking care of them and moving forward step by step gave me a sense of calm I really needed. I did make a whole separate review video on this, so I won't talk more about this one here as to not repeat myself, but if you enjoy quiet, wordless adventures like Journey, Up to Gris, I think you would find Herdling to be a really beautiful experience as well. Then we have Water Park Simulator. As much as I love simulator games, I usually try not to play them too often because they completely suck me in and I get addicted very easily, and before I even realize I've been playing for hours. But when I saw this one, the idea of managing an entire water park was just too fun to pass up, and honestly it really delivered. It's so chaotic, funny, and surprisingly detailed. What I loved most is that you do absolutely everything yourself. I mean, of course you get to hire staff at one point, but if you want to, you can do everything yourself. And you're not just designing the water park, you're also printing out flyers and handing them to people passing by your park, selling tickets at the entrance, checking people's bracelets to make sure they paid, and kicking out the troublemakers that sneaked in. On top of that, you step into the role of a lifeguard since there are occasionally people who drown, or run the food stand where you make hot dogs and lemonades. And it is not just simply pressing one button. The customers have specific requests, like some want a plain hot dog or one with only mustard or a lemonade with ice. Meanwhile, you are restocking supplies, repairing rides, and trying to keep everything running smoothly. That might sound a bit overwhelming, but in my opinion the balance is actually great. Many simulator games either move at a very slow pace that you don't know what to do next and get bored, or pile pile on so many tasks that you burn out. This one manages to sit right in the middle. You're always busy, but it is busy in a fun way where you never stop and wonder, okay, what now? Do I just wait here for the day to end? It keeps you constantly engaged. And I had so many moments where I laughed out loud because the game loves to throw absurd situations at you. Like, I was repairing a water slide and out of nowhere, my character just went down it in the middle of the job and I ended up splashing into the pool. You can even give hesitant guests a little push if they're too scared to jump off the diving board or go down the slide, and you can run around with a water gun splashing random people. It feels like the developers really sat down and thought, what are all the silly little things you might want to do at a water park, and then just added them in. That said, one thing that felt like a missed opportunity was the lack of customization. You cannot play as a female character and there are no customization options at all, even though the game lets you see yourself in the third person. I really hope they add this feature down the line since the game is still in early access. But yeah, overall, if you're looking for something lighthearted and pure chaotic fun, I would recommend checking out Water Park Simulator. Next, I played Ritual of Raven. This is a cozy story-driven farming game with a really unique twist. So we step into the role of an apprentice witch, and instead of spending our days planting and watering crops by hand like we would do in most farming sims, here we have a deck of enchanted cards to control whimsical constructs that do the gardening for us. These magical little helpers plow the fields, water and harvest the crops, and it feels almost like we're casting spells to orchestrate the farm. At first, it definitely takes a little while to get used to because we're basically programming our constructs, but once it clicks, it becomes a really fun mechanic. The story begins when our character is pulled through a strange portal and taken in by Sage, a powerful witch whose world has been thrown into chaos. All across the land, unstable portals have opened, and it becomes our task to track down the missing portal keepers and help restore balance while growing our own magical ability. I really enjoyed how much attention was given to the other characters in this world. The side characters actually feel fleshed out and I feel like we really get to know them. I also really like the storytelling since it's rare to have detailed narratives in cozy farming games, so it reminded me of Wildflowers in that sense. The game is also very charming with the small details. I love the character customization, the little character portraits, it's such beautiful art. And it all feels really fresh, like trying to learn how to play a farming game again after so many years and actually paying attention and using my brain to understand the farming system. It felt nice since so many farming games share the same exact gameplay and we do the same things in all of them, which I'm not saying this as a bad thing at all since that familiar comfort is why we love them so much in the first place and why we unwind with those games after a long day. But if you're looking for something different within this genre, I think Ritual of Raven really delivers. Though I'm not gonna lie, there were definitely many moments where the system confused me and I caught myself wishing we could just pick up a watering can and do the farming ourselves, but as we progress and unlock more cards for automation, it starts to flow more naturally. At a certain point, I really started feeling like I was growing into the role of a witch, slowly mastering the tools and learning to trust the constructs. And I played Animal Shelter too. As you can already tell by the name, in this one we run our very own animal shelter. I played the first Animal Shelter when it first launched, and while I liked the concept, I remember that after a few hours it started to feel very repetitive. It was cute, but the gameplay loop got stale pretty quickly. With this one, there is definitely more content and more variety in what you can actually do day to day. A lot of features that were DLCs in the first game are now part of the base game here, which is honestly the bare minimum you would expect from a sequel. But honestly, if you keep your expectations low, you can be happy with everything. Anyway, I think there are some genuinely cool new additions. For example, now you can do animal rescue missions. These are a big improvement because they make you instantly more attached to the animals you're helping. Seeing the conditions they come from and knowing you've saved them from those situations adds a lot more depth. Unfortunately, there aren't that many different scenarios, and it feels like there's a ton of potential that isn't being used. Rescue missions could be such a strong feature if there were more variety or like different types of emergencies. One big improvement is that there is now co-op mode with up to 6 players. I think it could be really fun to run a shelter with friends. Like, I feel like it would be such a cozy time. Now, on the surface, this game is extremely cute by default. Taking care of the animals, playing with them, and finding them new homes is just so heartwarming. But it definitely has many flaws. Like, I ran into quite a few bugs that made me want to stop playing, and the sound effects and the interface kind of feel like a mobile game, which feels a bit cheap for a PC release. And there are just so many small details that could have been done better and would have added a lot of depth to the overall experience. For instance, feeding the animals is so basic, like there's only one type of food and that's it. I wish there were different food options depending on the animal, like junior food, sterilized formulas, or even flavor preferences that made each pet feel more unique. The same goes for interactions at the park. You can take your animals out, which is so cute, but the strangers you encounter don't react at all. Imagine if they wanted to pet your dog, comment on how cute your cat is, or I don't know, make small talk and learn we run an animal shelter, and then they might even offer to adopt one and we give them our card. Okay, I don't know, that might be too much, but like, things like this would make the world feel more alive and give the gameplay more personality. I know I've listed quite a few cons, but Animal Shelter 2 is still a really sweet, wholesome game because of its concept. Taking care of animals and matching them with the right families is naturally rewarding. I just think it's important not to go in with huge expectations. It's cute, it's cozy, it has potential, but it's also rough around the edges, so just know that before you buy the game. Trinkleby honestly completely exceeded my expectations. This is a super cozy decoration game that's unlike any decoration game I've ever played. The art style and the colors are so beautiful, and I feel like every single moment in the game is background worthy. So in Trinkleby we decorate little floating islands and turn them into dreamy dioramas. We don't just place furniture either, we also get to choose the weather, the lighting, even the backdrop of each island. That means we can make a sunny little garden or a cozy autumn town or even a magical night scene with shooting stars. The way we decorate actually matters too because it affects what kind of residents show up. If our space feels welcoming, they'll move in, interact with the furniture, and leave us little gifts. It creates this nice loop where decorating brings in more neighbors and their happiness helps us unlock even more items to build with. And the part that made me go, oh, was that we can simply evict residents or just toss furniture off the edge of the island when we don't want to use it anymore. I didn't expect that from such a cute, cozy game. It sounds a bit dramatic, but all the items go right back into our collection so we can use it again later. As we keep expanding, we collect shooting stars that can be spent at the antique shop for new furniture, and we also unlock map fragments that let us discover more islands. Each new island gives us more room for creativity and a chance to attract rare neighbors. Like, I literally wanted to live in every single island I designed. Somehow they all turned out better than the one I did before. And if you like collecting things, this game scratches that itch too, as there are furniture sets you can collect, and if you get all the items in a set you get a special item, which kept me playing since I wanted to unlock more furniture. If you go on your PC after a long tiring day, you feel so tired to do anything and you just want to look at beautiful things and feel cozy, Trinkleby is the game. Next, I played Letters to Arala. In this one, we get to play as a cute little turnip with a big juicy bum. Yep, I really want to squeeze our character. We literally look like a mochi. Anyway, like I was saying, we play as a cute turnip delivering mail to a cast of colorful characters on a cozy sunny Australian island. But we don't have any of the addresses or directions. Instead, we read the letters and use the clues drawn on the envelopes to figure out where each piece of mail needs to go. The first in-game day where I explored the island for the first time and tried to figure out where all the places are and what all the logos meant was so fun, and the logos and drawings on the letters change every day, so it's not that easy, like it doesn't get stale. As we deliver the letters, we explore the island and unlock more secrets, and we also get to meet all these quirky residents like grouchy glassblowers, silly scientists, and more, and their interpersonal drama is revealed through the letters, and of course we try and help them with their problems, and the side quests are really fun. I love the whole getting into people's business thing, like we literally follow all the drama through reading the letters, and basically the whole town knows we read the letters, and everyone is just chill about it. The pace of the game is also as lazy, carefree, and overall it feels like a soft summer day. The only thing I wish the game had would be to have more mobility, like the surroundings are so beautiful and I'd love to jump over things or be able to climb a little and explore a bit more. But even just as it is, it's a super cute cozy game with a fun little story. Again, it's perfect if you're looking to have a cozy evening. Then I played Easy Delivery Co. In this one, we are a delivery driver with a little K truck driving through a snowy mountain town that feels a bit off. We take delivery jobs from shopkeepers, carry packages from spot A to spot B, earn money to buy upgrades for the truck, fuel and heat, and meet the strange residents. At first, I thought this would be a hard game to play and that there would be definitely horror elements in it, but happy to say I was wrong. It's actually a super chill game. I mean, there are some unsettling moments, but nothing scary. Things just feel a bit off sometimes, and we don't ever feel rushed or punished harshly. If cargo falls off the truck while we drive, we just pick it up and move on. I mean, we have to watch out for fuel and energy, and we can freeze if we stay outside too long without shelter or warmth, but as long as we have enough money, we can just refuel and it lasts a pretty long time, and we can easily get an energy drink from a vending machine or brew coffee, so the overall experience feels pretty chill. We can explore 3 full areas: the mountain town, the fishing village, and snowy peaks. Each has its own vibe and challenges. The graphics are retro and feel like a PS1 game. It's simple but very effective. The soundtrack is amazing with lo-fi tracks that match the atmosphere. I guess the hardest thing in the game is the navigation, since you can't really see where you are on the map and there's no minimap or anything to guide you where you need to go. You just kind of memorize the roads and follow the road signs, which really adds to the immersion actually. So if you're looking for something with a mysterious atmosphere where you can just drive, deliver stuff, and listen to lo-fi and chill, I would really recommend Easy Delivery Co. Okay, then I played my favorite game of the year, Consume Me. I did make a whole separate review video for it, so I will try to keep this short, but I don't know if I can. I feel like I can yap about how great it is for hours. While on the surface it looks like one of those cute little colorful indie games, when you play it, you quickly start relating to everything a bit too much. So we play as Jenny, who's also one of the developers of this game, and the game is based on the story of her own teenage years, and I think that's why everything feels so painfully real and relatable, because it is. The game begins when Jenny's mom comments on her weight and Jenny decides to go on a diet. From then on, every day revolves around bites, studying, and basically trying to be perfect in anything we do. There are so many gameplay mechanics and so many different mini-games, and everything is gamified. Every day at lunch, we basically play a food Tetris. We have some randomly placed hunger spots and we try to fill all of them while not overeating and not going over our bite limits. If we did, we have to work out after, which is also a mini-game. But we also need to study or help mom with chores, yet we wasted that precious time working out. The time management part is done perfectly. You always feel like there's never enough time for anything, just like real life, and wish days were 100 hours. Playing this game literally put me back in my 16-year-old self's brain, and you know what? As painful as that was, it was also really healing to me, because now as a 24-year-old, I can clearly see how Jenny's mindset toward herself is so toxic and and horrible when I was Jenny just a few years ago. I was crying my eyes out at the end, not even because it was sad, but because I was really proud and thankful to the developers for making a game like this. Like, they literally poured everything they have into this game, and you can feel it from every inch. They thought about everything, and every single detail is there. Honestly, it's just perfection. Okay, I'll stop myself here and move on to the next game I played, which is Gloomy Eyes. This one is a dark puzzle cozy horror adventure where we follow Gloomy, a zombie boy, and Nina, a human girl, who fall in love even though their worlds don't really want them to be together. The sun has literally stopped rising, and the whole game takes place in this eerie, eternal night that feels straight out of a Tim Burton movie. We switch between controlling both characters and use their different abilities to solve puzzles. So it's basically self-co-op like in Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Every level plays out inside these beautiful diorama-style scenes that we can explore and interact with, and the art direction is honestly just stunning. I really loved how moody it feels without being scary. It has that cute spooky atmosphere where everything is a little strange and melancholic, but the story is actually really sweet and hopeful underneath. My favorite part is probably the narration. It made me feel like I was in a storybook. Overall, the game feels really high quality and well crafted, so if you're looking for a cozy little spooky game, you can't go wrong with Gloomy Eyes. Then I played Henry Halfhead. This is honestly one of the most creative little games I've ever played, and I love it so much. So we play as Henry, who's literally just a head, and because of that we can possess basically any object around us. Like, 1 second we're a banana, the next we're a watering can, then we're a knife to cut bread, then we're the toaster to toast it. We can even make a paper plane and fly around. Every object has its own use, and a lot of them can be combined together in surprising ways, and trying to figure out the limits of what I can do as each object was so fun. The game takes us through different stages of Henry's life, like their childhood bedroom, their workplace, and even their dreams, and we just get to mess around with all these objects and figure out little puzzles. The whole game is narrated too, so it feels like we're playing through this funny storybook that makes fun of us but also cheers us on when we discover new things. I really love how playful it all feels. We're encouraged to try everything, to poke around and see what happens if we turn into this or that, and most of the time it led to something silly that made me laugh. There's also a local co-op mode. I didn't try it, so I'm not sure how it works, but just letting you know it exists. Honestly, Henry Halfhead is one of those games that reminds me why I love indies so much. It's strange, it's unique, and it feels like the developers just poured their hearts into making something that doesn't exist anywhere else. After that, I played Wonder Stars. This is a super charming little turn-based RPG that feels like a mix between a 90s anime and a Saturday morning cartoon we would have loved as kids. We play as Ringo, a rookie fighter who suddenly gets caught up in this big adventure after meeting Wolf, a mysterious traveler with a whole lot of baggage. The story is all about them traveling across the galaxy, running into friends and rivals, and slowly uncovering bigger mysteries along the way. It feels like curling up with a good animated show. The most interesting part in my opinion though is the combat system, which is literally about building sentences. Every attack we do is made up of words, so we can mix and match them to create different moves. Like, we can throw together something like super special wind punch or extra super wide water headbutts depending on our enemy and their weaknesses, and as we progress we unlock more words and elements to play around with, so the possibilities keep expanding and it feels really fun to experiment and always keeps the combat fresh. It's such a unique system because it's not just about choosing an ability from a list, it's about creating one. The story plays out in 10 anime-inspired episodes, complete with intros and outros. It's so playful. It feels like we're not just playing a game, but actually watching and starring in a show at the same time. And the art, of course, is gorgeous, super colorful, with character designs that feel expressive and fun. The music is also worth mentioning because it fits the theme so well and it's really well made. I'm not done with it yet, but playing it puts me in such a good mood. You can tell the team really poured their hearts into it because every part of it feels polished and full of personality. Honestly, Wonder Stars is the kind of game that feels perfect when you just want to relax with something cozy, but also still want to get that excitement of going on a big journey. I really recommend checking it out, especially if you enjoy 90s style nostalgic animes. Then I played Hidden Dogs in the Doghouse, which is a cozy hidden object game. You know how there are a lot of hidden cat games, but for some reason not many hidden dog ones? Well, the story is based on that, and it's a really sweet short game you can finish in an afternoon. I did find some of the levels a bit too easy, which might be a downside for some people, but honestly it was okay for me since spending 10 minutes looking for one object usually just annoys me. And me and my partner played Lego Voyagers. In this one, we literally play as 2 Lego bricks, one red and one blue, and we make our way through whole worlds made of Lego. It's a 2-player co-op on the game, so sadly you cannot play it alone. You can play either local co-op or online, and buying only one copy of the game is enough since there's a friend's pass. Honestly, I think it's so perfect for couples. There's no dialogue in it, you can be as silly as you want, you can solve the puzzles in different ways, you can endlessly spam cute chirping sounds, we can even click together and be one Lego brick instead of 2 and tumble around. It's basically a super cute puzzle platformer for couples. We can attach ourselves to other Lego pieces, rotate across surfaces, use loose bricks to build bridges, ride tram cars, or even launch into rocket ships. It's so playful, so creative, and collaborative. I really love how there's a non-verbal narrative as well, which means we really get to feel things in silence, and also it feels super cozy and serene. Trying to get all the different achievements is so fun too. Like, I was wearing some swim fins that I randomly found lying around, and then I accidentally fell into the water, and the game gave me an achievement for trying to swim with that item. And I'm sure there are so many more silly little achievements like this that I missed, and it can be I think a fun challenge to try and find them all without looking them up. Basically, if you're looking for a super cute game where you can get silly with your partner, I really recommend this one. It's quite short, around 5 hours, so you can get a really cozy evening or 2 out of it. The first thing I played this month was Sumire. This was a game I picked on a whim when I was randomly scrolling through my Steam library at 2 AM. I was actually torn between 2 games and I asked my mom to decide for me, and she said this one looks really cute and like something to make me feel good. I mean, thanks mom, I guess, for choosing this great game, but also I was in tears at the end. So this is a short adventure game where we play as Sumire, a young girl who's grieving and struggling to find meaning after losing someone important to her. One morning, a talking flower appears in our house and promises to help us fulfill our wish of speaking to our grandma again, but only if we spend the whole day showing the magical flower around our world. As we explore the quiet little town, we make choices that shape the story. We can help others, or we can be bad and create even more problems for them. Everything we do affects how this single magical day ends. It looks like a cute, feel-good game on the outside, and I mean it is to some point, but there are also some moments that are too relatable that it's painful, and the dialogue surprised me in a good way. It talks about regret, forgiveness, and moving forward in a way that hits hard. The art is this dreamy watercolor style, and the music complements the rest of the game well. Even though it's only a few hours long, I think it's one of those games that really managed to leave its mark on you, and it felt like a quiet reminder to appreciate small moments and the people who matter to us. The next game I played was also by pure luck. I wanted to play this cyberpunk package delivery game called Cloudpunk, and I kept scrolling through my library, but the only similar looking game I saw was Lacuna, so I thought that must be the one. I played for about an hour before realizing this was a totally different game. Turns out I don't even own Cloudpunk. I mean, both games' thumbnails have these cyberpunk-style cityscapes in the background, so my brain just associated them, I guess. But I'm very happy for that mistake because this game ended up being so good, especially for a cozy fall evening. Being in that beautiful sci-fi noir pixel art world and investigating this case was such a vibe. So Lacuna is a 2D sci-fi noir adventure where we play as Neil Conrad, an agent who gets caught up in a murder case that slowly turns into a big political conspiracy. It's a dialogue-heavy detective game, so instead of solving puzzles, we gather clues, talk to suspects, and piece things together ourselves. There is no way to reload and change our choices, so whatever decisions we make, we have to stick with them, and I think that makes the story feel more grounded and tense in a good way. We constantly use the metro in the game, which reminded me of the TV show The Bear, and I think it definitely made the game's world feel more alive. And another totally optional mechanic that added a lot of charm was smoking. You can buy cigarettes from vending machines and take small breaks in scenic spots. It's completely optional though, and you can even try to quit, which is what I did. The story gets pretty political, but not in a heavy-handed way. It talks about power, corruption, media, and how people get caught between systems that don't really care about them. I just really love the whole atmosphere of it, and if everything I said so far intrigued you, I would recommend you to check it out. Then I played Cult of the Lamb. I've told myself every October for the past 3 years that I would play it during spooky months, but I never did because I knew I would be addicted. Literally every day I was looking forward to finishing my real-life tasks just so I could go back to my cute little cult. So in this one, we play as a possessed lamb who starts their own cult in this dark, weird world. We recruit followers, build and decorate our little cult village, manage resources, and make sure everyone stays happy and loyal. And yes, we also perform rituals that are hilariously over the top, and if you stop to think about it, really disturbing rituals, but it's all wrapped in this adorably cute art style that makes it feel totally whimsical instead of grim. The dungeon runs are where things get exciting. We take our little lamb into randomly generated dungeons filled with monsters and treasures. Of course, each run gives us resources to improve the village, and sometimes new followers who join us after we rescue them. The combat is really well made, it never got stale for me, and I loved going back to the village after a run to see my cult thriving. Like, the balance between the chaos of the dungeons and the calm of decorating and taking care of our cult creates the perfect game for a cozy October evening. And finally, in October, I played Copycat. I was so scared of playing this game, like genuinely terrified, because I kept reading reviews of people crying their hearts out to the point of throwing up, and it's about a cat. And when it comes to animals, I cannot help myself. I start sobbing over the smallest thing. So in this game, we play as a cat that gets adopted from a shelter by an elderly lady. At first, we're cautious and scared because of our past trauma, but slowly we start to trust her and feel safe in our new home. But then, things happen. I won't tell you what, but sad things happen. I think the game is way too intense emotionally. It's constantly trying to make you cry, and for me, it didn't feel natural at all. If it had dialed it back a bit, I think some moments would have been much more effective. The writing felt a little weak, and the janky animations didn't help either. Just when I tried to jump like a cat, it wouldn't quite work, and it broke the immersion. I would jump on the counter and try to walk while avoiding all the items, but for some reason, our cat literally pushed every single thing to the ground. Cats are usually great at walking without touching anything, but I felt like this cat was not catting at all. But of course, all things aside, with a sad cat story like this, I couldn't help being interested and seeing it through to the end. I was invested the whole way, even if I wasn't a big fan of the execution. It's not a bad game, but I really feel like it could have been so much better. The first game I played this month was Escape Simulator 2. I used to spend every single evening on Discord playing games with friends, and when I quit the competitive online game I was playing, Dota 2, I slowly drifted away from that whole routine. I just went back to playing single player games by myself, and whenever I did play co-op, it was usually a local co-op game with my partner. So basically, over the past few years, I completely fell out of the habit of playing games with online friends. So when Escape Simulator 2 came out, I messaged the people I love and asked if they wanted to play it together, and they said yes. So this is an escape room game where you get around 45 minutes each level to solve all the puzzles and get the key to escape the room. But even though there's a timer, there's nothing stressful about it. You're not punished for running out of time or anything like that, so it stays pretty cozy even when the puzzles get tricky. I think it really matters who you play it with. Some of the puzzles are genuinely tough, and I had a few moments where I felt a bit stupid watching my friends solve everything while I just stood there all confused. But every time I made fun of myself, they hyped me back up, never making me feel bad about it, which made the experience even cuter. As I just said, some puzzles are pretty challenging, but they're also pretty fun to solve, and they feel surprisingly varied for different personalities. Some puzzles I could not understand even after watching my friends solve them, and others he didn't get at all and I solved instantly. So it feels like the game caters to different types of problem solving, which keeps it balanced and interesting. One thing to note is when I played the first Escape Simulator, I remember feeling really nauseous and I had to stop after a short session every time I played. In this one, I didn't have that problem at all, but one of my friends did and she had to stop because the movement made her feel sick, which is funny because she had no issue with the first game and I was the opposite. I guess you can't really know until you try the game though. We only finished a few levels, but I'm excited to go back for more. I'm also looking forward to checking out the community levels because the first game had some really creative ones. Then I played Tiny Lands 2. My mom was visiting me for a couple of weeks, and one ritual I vividly remember from my childhood is how we used to find the difference puzzles together every weekend. We would have breakfast, open the newspaper, and sit there spotting all the tiny differences for a while. It's such a warm memory to me, so when I saw Tiny Lands 2, I thought it would be the perfect game to share with her. So this is a find the difference game, but it's not just a static image. You can rotate around the entire level, zoom in and out, and explore every little corner. Each level is a small 3D handcrafted diorama, and honestly, they're beautiful. The level design is so detailed and charming that sometimes I forgot to even look for the differences because I was just too busy admiring everything. Some of the differences were actually quite tricky to find, and we were in this little competition where we were both racing to spot the next difference first, which was really fun. There's also one puzzle piece hidden in every level, and it was usually harder to find than the actual differences, but it's totally optional. I spent quite a bit of time searching for some of them, and it was really fun. Overall, getting to do one of my favorite hobbies with my mom felt really special. She enjoyed the game so much and kept pointing out how beautiful the levels were and how much attention to detail the developers put into everything. Tiny Lands 2 ended up being a really special game for me, and I'm so grateful I got to spend this kind of quality time with my mom. Next is Little Nightmares 2, which is one of the games I started a long time ago and stopped halfway. I was actually streaming this game the day it launched, and at one point I just got too disturbed and stopped. And I just realized this game released almost 5 years ago now, which is actually insane to think about. If you told me it was last year, I would probably believe you. Anyway, going back to this game now, I honestly don't understand how I got so scared to the point of stopping, because the scary parts felt like the perfect balance this time around. Maybe I was just in a different mindset back then, or maybe I simply built it up too much in my head, I don't know, but now I feel like this game was made for me. I get scared so easily, and I've been craving a good horror game for so long that I can actually play without the fear taking over me. So I'm very happy to say that Little Nightmares 2 has the right balance. It's one of those rare horror games that made my pulse go up from excitement rather than giving me neck and shoulder pain from tensing up too much. I felt so much adrenaline instead of pure fear. I mean, I was still scared, but it was at a manageable level. Every chase sequence in the game was absolute perfection, and having Six with us for most of the game, holding our hand, really reduced the dread I usually feel in horror games. And of course, it made my bond with her so much stronger, since I was literally dependent on her to keep going without feeling lonely and scared. I loved the interactions between our characters. They were small interactions, but they carried so much emotion. The platforming sequences felt perfect for me, and the puzzles were just right for my brain. I didn't have to look anything up, and they all made sense. I seriously wouldn't change anything about it. I actually love it even more than the first game, and I found myself much more interested in the lore this time around. My only criticism would be the perspective. Since it's 2.5D, I often missed where I was trying to jump during the chases or interact with things, but to be honest, it's such a small problem that I didn't really mind too much. The atmosphere, music, and the sound design completely made up for it. The next game is God of War. I've always been kind of afraid to talk about this game. Anytime I talk to random people online and said I don't think it's the masterpiece they make it out to be, I always got hit with, well, yeah, because you're a woman. Women don't understand good games. Go back to your farming sims. Every single time. But, well, I don't care anymore. I finally managed to completely finish the story, and here's what I think. First off, I don't think God of War is a bad game. Not even close. A 7 out of 10 is not bad. I really dislike how some people nowadays see anything below an 8 as bad. Anyway, that's not the point. When this game first came out back in 2018, I got caught up in the hype like everyone else. Everyone was talking about how it's one of the best games ever made. So I immediately bought it for my PlayStation 4. After about 10 hours of playing though, I just constantly had this feeling of sleepiness. I was so bored and weirdly nauseous the whole time, so I decided to take a break from it. That break ended up lasting 6 years. I only went back to it in 2024 because my husband loves these games. He literally rewatches them every year without even blinking, so I thought maybe I'd been too harsh before. I thought maybe I'd get it this time, so I tried again, this time on PC. At least this time around I didn't feel as dizzy playing it, but well, it was a hard time again. Actually, maybe even a harder time because 6 years had passed since I last tried it and quit. Now I actually knew my game taste better, and I didn't have as much time to play things I don't love, and so many good games are constantly coming out. So it took me about a year to finish this because I kept taking breaks from it since it didn't hook me at all. But I finally did it, and oh, I can't tell you the weight that's been lifted off my shoulders. At least now my mind's at peace knowing I finished the story completely, and it really just isn't for me. I won't have that lingering thought anymore that says, maybe I'd like it if I kept going. Everything in the game just felt okay. The combat was okay, the exploration was okay, the dialogue was okay, and sometimes even very predictable. I never had a moment where I thought, wow, this is really unique. The story too just didn't do it for me. And that's not because it's bad, but because I didn't relate to it at all. I get why this story means a lot to so many guys. If you see yourself in Kratos or Atreus, their connection and seeing Kratos break the toxicity chain probably means a lot to you. But for me, it just didn't. I think that's also why the love for this game is so intense. A lot of people connect very deeply to its themes, and when something resonates that strongly, it's easy to see it as flawless, as a masterpiece. I just don't share that connection, and that's why I can only see it as another polished, well-made game. So yeah, I finally finished it after 7 years. Yay! And finally, for November, I played Call of the Golden Valley. This is an indie mystery game set in a small town in Australia. We play as an American tourist visiting our friend in the Australian countryside. But when we arrive, she's suddenly nowhere to be found, so we start investigating and talking to the residents of the town to try and figure out where she is. The vibes in this game are definitely something. It feels unsettling and cozy at the same time, and it captures that small town atmosphere perfectly. Everyone in the town seems friendly enough, but also a little strange in their own way. I honestly didn't even expect there to be voice acting, but there is, and it really exceeded my expectations considering this is from a very small studio. I really enjoyed the performances and they added a lot more personality to the characters. Sadly though, there were way too many bugs, and I'm not talking about funny bugs where buildings float or characters glitch for a second. These were the kind where the game just stopped responding out of nowhere, and I lost around 20 minutes of progress several times. I couldn't even figure out what triggered it as they happened so randomly each time. Even with that, if the vibes you see in the video speak to you and you're in the mood for a cozy small town mystery to solve, this is a pretty nice option. December is one of my favorite months, but this year unfortunately it didn't go that well for me. I worked really hard all year and I believe I honestly did my best with this idea that if I get ahead on work and other stuff this year, then 2026 could be a slower year and give me some space to breathe, and everything was going according to plan. But then in December, everything I built over the past year suddenly fell apart. I'm not gonna go too much into details, but basically I kinda lost my job and I have to start completely from scratch, and over the past few weeks I've been trying to process that. And during this time, games were a huge source of comfort for me. I really love sharing bits from my life here, and sadly that's what's going on right now. So anyway, here's everything I played in December. First we have Dogpile. This game was literally the best game I could possibly play during this tough period. I was really sad, so I couldn't focus on anything, but seeing cute dogs bouncing around and endlessly merging them to even bigger cute dogs somehow managed to distract me. It combines Balatro style deck building with the watermelon game, and as you can guess, it is extremely addicting. The art style is so charming too, and I can see myself playing this for many more hours to come whenever I want to take my mind off things. It's just so fun, and I need a Chunky Cats version as well. Then we have Everdream Village. This is a life sim / farming game that released to early access this month, and one that I was really excited for because it promised so many things and looked like it would have really cool future that sets it apart from other similar games. First, I need to say I only played this for a few hours because I generally prefer playing games once they're complete, unless I'm really addicted to the gameplay, and Everdream Village couldn't convince me to keep playing it at its current state. There are so many cool ideas here and I see the vision, but sadly as of now I have to say it feels really undercooked. It lacks many things I would expect a farming game to have by default. For example, I couldn't even go in my house when I played, and I'm not sure if that was a bug or not, because I feel like it should be a given even in an early access farming game. I was also quite lost in some quests. I'd say the game doesn't guide the player properly sometimes, and I felt kinda overwhelmed because there was way too much tutorial to read when all I wanted to do was relax. But as I said, there are so many cool ideas here and I'm looking forward to more updates. I hope it'll reach its full potential with more updates, and I'll be checking it out again once it's out of early access. Next, I played Duck Detective: The Ghost of Glamping. This was my introduction to the series and I didn't even realize there was a first game until I was done, but I never felt confused or lost while playing. This is a very lighthearted and cozy point-and-click mystery where we play as Duck Detective, solving cases by making deductions. The whole game has a really quirky and playful tone, so I was pleasantly surprised when the story started taking some unexpectedly strange and serious turns. I think that contrast really helped balance the game and made it more memorable. I also really loved the cast of characters. Everyone feels distinct and a little weird in their own way, which adds a lot of charm to the investigation. My only complaint is that some of the deductions felt a bit too guess-based. There were some moments where I solved things randomly, even though I didn't fully understand the logic behind them yet. But overall, I had a great time with this one, and I definitely recommend it if you're looking for something cozy, funny, and a little different that you can finish in around 2 hours. Then I played a really heartbreaking short experience called As Long As You're Here. In this game, we play as an elderly woman living with Alzheimer's, and I honestly don't think this subject could have been handled any better. From the very beginning, I had this constant painful feeling sitting in my gut. I felt confused, disoriented, disoriented, and slowly in the game I started feeling like a burden to my own family, which was incredibly hard to sit with. The game doesn't rely on big dramatic moments to communicate these emotions. Instead, it lets small interactions and everyday situations slowly wear you down, which somehow makes it hurt even more. There are many little details like our plants slowly dying, even though we do our best to water them every day, and they feel really powerful. It's a very short experience, roughly about an hour, but in that time it managed to say and make you feel so much. I think it's really important that games like this exist, especially when they tackle sensitive topics with this much care and empathy. It offers a small glimpse into what life might feel like for people going through this, and I really recommend it if you're open to playing something emotionally heavy. And finally, for December, and I guess for 2025, I played Are We There Yet? The only friend swap games I've played so far are Little Company and Among Us, so the chances of me liking this game were pretty high since I'm not very familiar with this genre, and so I'm more likely to be easily impressed with most of these games. But I think I played this game with the wrong people. And I'm not really saying this in a bad way. I mean, they were way too smart and logical, and so we passed through every obstacle in a really short amount of time without going through much chaos, and I mostly just stood there, sipped my drink and watched. I feel like it's better not to be that logical in games like this because most of the fun comes from messing up and the chaotic moments. I guess I can also say that it doesn't feel like there's enough to do for every player. It often feels like one or at most two people can get through the whole game, while the rest are kind of just there to goof around and watch. I mean, I definitely still had fun, but I feel like most of that fun came from hanging out together rather than the gameplay itself. I know it was developed in such a short amount of time and became a huge hit, which is super impressive, and I'm really happy for the team, but also I can easily imagine it becoming a lot more engaging with some extra mechanics or ways for everyone to participate more actively. I mean, it's definitely still enjoyable as it is now, especially with the right group, but I think it can become so much more fun with a few more things. And yeah, these are the games that got me through December. As you can probably tell, I mostly tried playing lighthearted things this month since I was already feeling down, and I'm so grateful to these games for making me feel better, even if just a little. Of course, I'd also love to know what was your favorite game of 2025? How was life? Let me know. I'm really excited for all the new games I'll play in 2026 and to keep talking about them here. And the video where I talk about all the 2026 Cozy Game releases I'm looking forward to will be out on my channel next week, so feel free to subscribe and stay around for that. I wish you all a happy New Year's where all your dreams will come true, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye bye!